Hey guys, it's Monday and we are at the beginning of a brand new unit. This would be Unit 8 and Week 1, and this week, well, the next 2 weeks, we are going to be exploring things that go together. Now, there is an abundance of preschooling programs out there online for you to purchase. But what I really love about this program here that we are doing is it really is relevant in your child's life. We use simple and sometimes seemingly basic activities that really help build on math, science, and language skills. These skills are going to follow your child throughout the rest of their life, and building a strong foundation is right where it starts. Through these activities, you will see these skills starting to pop up even when you're not requiring them of your child, just in their day-to-day lives. Sorting toys, sorting their food, sorting their laundry, sorting their utensils and cups. You will see this start to pop up all over the place. Now, if you have just stumbled upon this video, I will be sure to link our playlist. It starts right from the beginning at Unit 1, Week 1, so you can catch up and not miss a thing. So we're gonna have some really fun activities helping our children recognize and identify things that belong together, things that are similar, and things that work together. The goal of this unit is to help your children recognize patterns in the world around them. So as we go through this unit, you want to take some time to emphasize in your day-to-day activities things that go together, like soap and water, salt and pepper, peanut butter and jam, if those would be things that go together in your home, but you do you. Some of the supplies that we will be using for this week will be some dried rice for a sensory bin. Well, somewhat of a sensory bin. Large container, toy hammer and nails, Post-its, masking tape, Duplo blocks, dry erase markers, peas and carrots, some playing cards, ketchup and mustard, construction paper, and Q-tips. The books that we will be reading this week are We Belong Together by Joyce Wan, We Go Together by Todd Dunn, and Friends by Helmi Heine. I will be sure to insert the poem and song that go along with this unit for your reference. One of them you may know, it's a very popular poem or song, I forget which is which, and the other one is really fun to sing. So this morning you are to start, as always, with your morning circle time or calendar routine, add in the poem and the song for the week, and then introduce the topic of things that go together. Our read aloud for today is going to be We Belong Together by Joyce Wan, and you're always encouraged to do a picture walk through the book first and try to guess what's happening or what's going to happen with your child before you do the actual read aloud. Our learning activity will be matching pairs, and our easy activity will be hammering some nails. So let's do this. This morning we started out with our book, We Belong Together. I will mention again, we just go right to YouTube and I look up the read alouds the night before and find one that I like, because we simply cannot find all of the books that are included in this program at our local library, especially during these times. So we watched this book about 5 times through because it's pretty short, but it's really cute. We talked about things in this book as it refers to things that are a pair, things that are similar, and things that just belong together. After this, we got right into our learning activity, which was set out on the table. For this activity, it is suggested in the program that you find pairs of items, bury half of the items within your rice in a bin, and then your child is to retrieve the other item from the rice and match the pairs together. Before this activity, we took a little bit of a different spin on it. I took the lead from the book and I included items that are a pair, items that are similar, and then items that just go well together. So for example, we had a pair of panda bears. We had a little fork and spoon for items that are similar. And then we had a little teacup and saucer plate for things that just go together. So I buried everything in this bin, let Nola pull it all out, and then we sorted what were going together, and then we sorted them as to things that were pairs, similar, and things that just go together. Now at first, Nola was just playing in this bin. She was having lots of fun, so I just let it be, but after a half an hour, I started to think that she was going to bore of this activity before we actually got to the learning part of this activity. So I simply started pairing up together some of the things she had already removed, and I was mismatching them, knowing that this would catch her attention and then she would want to get in and fix it. So we dug out the last few items, then we paired them off and then sorted them into pairs, similar items, and things that just go well together. This is a really great activity because she spent like an hour playing just in the bin of rice as it is. and she had no problem figuring out what went together, especially after watching this book. For our easy activity today, it is a hammer and nailing activity. Sounds a little bit scary, but it really doesn't have to be. You can get a toy hammer if your child has one, or just, find your maybe tenderizing mallet from the kitchen. You'll find something around. You also don't have to use nails. You can use Q-tips, or golf tees would also work well, and you're to get a piece of styrofoam and then show your child how to operate the hammer and nail and have them nail away. So for this activity, I didn't really have any styrofoam. I do have some craft styrofoam balls I was gonna cut in half and glue down, and it was gonna be this whole big process. And then I remembered the mat. We have this foam mat that was in sections, and a section had ripped off, and it's perfect because it's foam. Then I also remembered we had some barbecue skewers in our drawer, which are essentially just very large toothpicks, which would work much, much better. So I cut the skewers in half. We had about 8 of them, got out the foam mat, and it works perfectly. So I presented Nola with this activity, and we have done some hammering and nailing previously when we made our phone back in our food unit, and just, with some toys she has where you pound down the pegs and they pop up on the other side, such and such. With this activity, she quickly realized that she could really just poke the skewer into the foam and it stays, but then I was encouraging her to use the hammer to get it down so it was more stable and it didn't fall over. She went through this activity once. She seemed to really enjoy it, but hasn't circled back to it yet, so we'll see if she gets back to it later. While your child is performing this task, you want to talk about how the hammer and nails work together to complete the task of getting the nail into the material of choice that you have chosen.
Bye, see you tomorrow.
Oh, that's such a big hug. Tuesday, and today you are to start, as always, with your morning circle time or calendar routine, along with the poem and song for this unit. And then today we are going to get right into the read aloud, which is just a repeat of yesterday's. Oh wow, look at that. Oh yeah, that's what Tuesday looks like around here this week. For our things to talk about today, we are to introduce the letter Q. So you want to have this written on a chalkboard, whiteboard, piece of paper in both a large and small version. Go over this letter and the sound that it makes along with these familiar words with your child. Our learning activity today is an alphabet hunt, and our easy activity is a 10-frame counting grid. So let's do this. So today I started out with almost everything on the table aside from the alphabet hunt. We had our letter Q card along with some familiar words that begin with the letter Q. I also started writing out some sheets just with the large and small version of the letters when we introduce a new letter or review a letter, just so Nola can practice some of her tracing. And then I had the easy activity with the counting 10 frame out on the table as well, along with some forks and spoons. So you can make this frame out of pencil and paper, or you can use masking tape. I just keep my placemat handy. I never really take this one apart unless we really need to use it for something else, and it's even the one that I flip over and use when we're painting or something messy on the table. So the idea of this activity is to have your child fill out each square with a fork or a spoon and count them out aloud with you. For this activity, you want to use a number that you know your child can count to, maybe with a little bit of assistance or totally on their own, so don't feel that you have to just leave it at 10. So we started out with tracing the letter Q and talking about the letter Q and the sounds that it makes and how rare the words are that begin with the letter Q, trying to make them extra special. A short while later, she sat back up at the table and started pairing the forks and spoons together. In my mind, I wanted her to put a pair of a fork and a spoon in each grid. After, of course, we counted out the squares, we counted out the forks, we counted out the spoons. That's kind of how I pictured this activity going. So after she paired up a few of the forks and spoons, she quickly lost interest. So I took half of the utensils away, thinking maybe it was a little too daunting, a little too overwhelming for her to see that many pieces of cutlery on the table, knowing that she would have to do something with them. And we never got back to this activity today. She had zero interest in it, along with the learning activity for the day, which is a alphabet hunt. You're supposed to get some little post-its and write the letter Q in both large and small hide the post-its around your house and have your child find them. We love this game. We play this game even when it's not part of the program. And today it just was not happening. So that was it for the day. We really didn't get many of the activities done. She found about 6 of the 15 letters in the alphabet hunt. So I'm hoping that tomorrow we'll probably start off with finishing that game as soon as she realizes and finds one, and we'll see how the day goes. It's Wednesday and you're going to start the day as always with your morning circle time or calendar routine, and then we are going to introduce the book We Go Together by a little play on words. You can start off giving a clue like milk and blank and have your child filled in the blank, or peas and carrots. You know, use whatever is relevant in your child's life and that so that they will be able to guess the paired word that you're looking for. Then we're gonna get right into our read aloud, which is We Go Together. And as always, you're encouraged to do a picture walk through this book first. This one's gonna be a little bit different because the pictures will really give away what's going on in the story. So for things to talk about today, you wanna talk about things, how things help each other, like how socks help getting your shoes on. How do leaves help the trees? Things like that. How just in general, how things work together. Then we're going to get into our learning activity, which is measuring with some socks and shoes, followed by our easy activity, which is a block letter matchup. So let's do this. This morning we started out with the easy activity on the table, which is a tendency of ours, but it just fit on the table much, much better. So what I had done last night is taken some washable markers and wrote capital and small letter of all of the letters that we have reviewed so far in this program, which are in no particular order. Let's see if I can get them all this time. A, R, C, M, J, B, S, N, and we're on Q. I think I've got that all. The object of this activity is to have your child match up the small version and the capital version of the letters using blocks. Nola saw it at first and really wasn't too interested. A little later on, after we watched our book for the day, I started to put them together once we were almost done eating our breakfast. I started to put them together wrong, knowing that Nola would want to correct me and help me fix it. So she was verbally giving me cues on how to fix it, and I was still struggling and getting them together wrong, and then I finally got one right, and she finally came over and helped me put together all of the other letters in the box. Then what we did was we went through all the letters and said the name of the letters. We went through again and made the sound, and then we went through again and each picked a word that began with that letter. So it was a really, really good activity once I finally got her going on it. And then after that, with our cleanup, as I was gonna start cleaning them, I wanted Nola to participate in the cleaning up. So I thought, you know what, let's do a little bit of sensory play. Grab 2 small bins, big beach towel, put it on the kitchen floor. And because we used washable markers, we really didn't even have to scrub these blocks at all. Once we started swishing them around in the water, the marker washed right off and it just turned into a nice little bit of bubble play. And this guy here got his first real experience with playing with a sensory bin inside and learning a little bit about the boundaries that go along with that, and he did very well. Then while we were upstairs getting dressed, this is where I pulled in our learning activity for the day, which is to measure items using socks and shoes. Now, Nola's always she resists the measuring activities. I'm not really too sure why. So I had thought last night that I was gonna save this one for just while we were getting dressed, and she just got a whole bunch of new socks. So I started pulling out a bunch of socks and lining them up along her one dresser, and then she helped me with the second dresser, and then we did them in front of her chair too. So we had the numbers 3, 4, and 6, and we talked about which had the most, which had the least, and then the one left in the middle. So it did turn out to be a successful activity. And a little bit later on, when we're back upstairs and in this guy's room, he has a lot of shoes that he needs to grow into in his closet, so I think I'll pull those out and we'll do the same idea, but in Colton's room with his furniture. And that was it for the day. Much more success today than we had yesterday. Oh, and Nola is still finding her letters left over from yesterday. Oh, hi. Okay, you say hi. Say bye. Thursday. Today you are to start, as always, with your morning calendar or circle time routine along with the song and poem for this unit. Our review topic today is just reviewing things that go together. So a question you may ask is what goes with a bed or what belongs with a bed. Our read aloud today is just a repeat of yesterday's book, We Belong Together, and our things to talk about today are to revisit the letter Q. So you want to have this written in both large and small version on a whiteboard, chalkboard, piece of paper, and talk about the sounds that this letter, I can't talk tonight. It was a long day. Talk about the sounds this letter makes and some familiar words that begin with this letter. Then we're going to get right into our learning activity, which is counting peas and carrots, followed by our easy activity, which is a little bit of play with ketchup and mustard. So let's do this. This morning we started out with our letter Q, tracing letters, and our little cue card, along with our learning activity. So after we read our book this morning and Nola wasn't really too interested in starting the learning activity, we started to have our own little play on words as it does in this book, and talking about things that would go together. So I would say a word and then she would say the coordinating word, such as I would say table and she would say chair, or I would say plate and she said bowl. You know, we were just kind of naming off the things that were around us in the room, but it was a really good way just to help reinforce the idea of things that typically go together, especially when all of these things were right in front of us. And then Nola had noticed our learning activity, which is to get a deck of playing cards and pull out the numbers 2 through 10, and then get some frozen peas and carrots, because peas and carrots go together, and have your child count out the appropriate amount of peas and carrots for each card that is laid out in front of them. You want them to help you count. You want them to touch each pea or carrot as they are counting it and make sure they have the correct amount with each card. For this activity, I pulled out the actual playing cards and had them laid out there, and Nola had noticed them a few times and then just kind of completely ignored them. I noticed her noticing them a few times today, and she wasn't asking me anything about what was on the table. So I thought this is going to take a little more prompting on my part. So a little later on in the morning, I just sat at the table and started the activity on my own, hoping that she would come join and help me. So I had chose to use broccoli and cauliflower since she wasn't really too interested in this. I didn't want frozen peas and carrots to just kind of get soggy on the table. So I had laid out the first 2 cards in this sequence and had counted out some broccoli and cauliflower, and she was just eating the broccoli and cauliflower off the table and not doing any part of the activity. So I had mentioned to her that somebody had eaten all my broccoli and cauliflower, so I needed her help to start counting this out again. So she sat on my lap and she was verbally helping me do the counting. I was doing most of the placing until we got about halfway through, and then she decided that she was going to partake in this, and she started to take over and line up the broccoli and cauliflower. So it was a bit of a struggle to get through this one. She just really wasn't that into it. And you know, that's okay. That's going to happen from time to time. Our easy activity for the day is sensory art. Squirt some ketchup and mustard into a container and let your kid paint, play, squish, squeeze, drive cars through, make stamps of, let them finger paint, let them use brushes, whatever they please with this one. This is some good sensory play, again, with just 2 items, ketchup and mustard, that, you know, typically go together. We did not get into this activity today. I offered a few times. I presented it in a couple of different ways. She was just not wanting anything to do with ketchup and mustard play today, so we didn't do it. And that was all for today. Friday. This morning you were to start out, as always, with your morning circle time or calendar routine, along with the poem and song that is included for this unit. Then you're going to get right in today's read aloud, which is Friends by Helma Heine, or Heine. I'm really not sure the correct pronunciation. I hear both online, so sorry, Helma. For our things to talk about today, you're simply going to ask your child to recall and recap this book, asking what happens, the beginning, the middle, and the end, and then talk about friendship and who their friends are and who they have as friends in their life. Our learning activity is making paper ice cream cones. Our easy activity is our alphabet page of the letter Q. So let's do this. This morning we started out with our learning activity on the table, and for this activity you are simply to cut out a series of triangles and circles and have your child construct some ice cream cones out of this. It's suggested in the program that you use the number 3, but you can use however many you feel are appropriate. So while your child is doing this, you want to talk about how ice cream and cones would go together. So for this one we cut out 3 ice cream cones, but I cut out 6 circles so that Nola could kind of construct the ice cream cone however she saw fit, with 1, 2, or 3 scoops. And because there are 3 of us, as her, myself, and her little brother, that are together all day, and we always refer to each other as our besties, because these days we ain't got nobody else. And when she was halfway through getting these ice cream cones together, she said, well, where's Daddy's ice cream cone? So of course, silly me, I had to quickly run down, grab another piece of paper, cut out a fourth cone, and then she constructed all of our ice cream cones. Then I suggested that perhaps I would write our names on the cones so she could later go back and trace them and we would know whose cone was which. Now for our alphabet page, you are to print off a block letter Q or just simply draw the outline of one on a piece of paper and then give your child some Q-tips and some colors of paint to color in or dab paint the letter Q with whatever colors they want, and they can color it right in using the Q-tip like a brush, or they can just dab it and do dots, or a combination of both, whatever they feel they need to do to complete their letter Q. So that is it for this week. Another fantastic week of easy prep, engaging activities that are building skills that your child is going to hold with them their whole life. So if you like this video, then please show us and give us a like, or perhaps share this video with somebody that you think may like it as well. Thanks.